Schools, masks, exclusion of students, still not decided yet by the Sangamon County Court, where the case was heard over 2 days, hours of oral arguments spanning across this month thus far. And a decision in the case not expected before next Friday. So we'll give you updates here now on the WMAY morning news feed. And I'd love to hear from you as well. 217-629-7970. That's the phone number. Again, 217-629-7970. Do you think that the masks should be mandated or should it be optional? So some interesting debate that's been had across the state this week when it comes to the COVID-19 mask mandates and the exclusion policies for children in schools. And the ideas of, even if a child's asymptomatic, they could be a threat. And you had an interesting saga playing out in Sangamon County Court with Judge Raylene Grishow, hearing arguments from not just attorney Thomas DeVore, but also from a slew of attorneys that are paid for by tax dollars to defend these school districts that are being sued. Because there are over 700 parents suing 145 school districts, including the city of Chicago, over mask mandates and exclusion policies. But we start this review of what's happened thus far over the past week with Naperville. Up in Naperville, there was a school board hearing where a student decided to use a little bit of sarcasm in her criticism of the mask mandate in Naperville. So here's how that played out. This is Naperville student Addison George addressing the school board in Naperville. With a little bit of sarcasm.
Thank you for teaching students that our own mental health is much less important than making triple vaccinated adults feel safe. Thank you for teaching me that even the most minute risk is not worth taking. Thank you for allowing me to experience the anxiety associated with never saying facial expressions. Thank you for teaching us that we should never question authority or think critically, but instead we should follow whatever the people in charge tell us to do. Obedience is best.
So again, that's a student in Naperville addressing the school board, and she laid out a bunch of thank yous. Thank you for, I'm paraphrasing here, showing that you don't have to have a backbone. Saying that, blind obedience to authority is okay, and a variety of other things. If you haven't seen that video, it's definitely gone viral to a degree, but that's the Naperville 203 board meeting from January 18th, so just earlier this week. So that student addressing some of her concerns, that was, before yesterday's court hearing, where you had more than 700 parents suing 145 school districts over mask and exclusion policies. So here's what a kind of an overview of the arguments are. There's a mask mandate in place from the governor. School districts are implementing that, and parents are suing over that. Now, the parents, they argue that masks are a medical device used to slow the spread of an infectious disease. And if you're going to force a medical device on somebody, you have to be provided by law due process. Meaning, you either say, okay, I agree, yes, I'm infected with an infectious disease and I should wear a mask. Or the individual has the due process rights spelled out in state law that says that individual has the ability to object and to have the burden of proof on the government that's wanting to enforce this. So the mask mandate in schools, governing body, they're taking taxpayer dollars, they have to provide due process in order for somebody to be forced to do a medical procedure, to quarantine, or to wear a mask. That's the argument from the plaintiffs, the 700 plus parents that are suing 145 school districts. The school districts, and it was lawyer after lawyer after lawyer yesterday, raising issues about how ISB has this authority and the school districts have to have this in place, because if they don't, then it's just going to, there's going to be, chaos and unsafe conditions and a variety of other arguments, especially working in arguments about individuals who may be, special needs or have their own immunocompromised issues, and they need to be kept safe. So everybody needs to wear masks. So that seems to be some of the arguments that were used, but regardless, it kept coming back to the plaintiff's attorney, Thomas DeVore, who we talked to yesterday, and it's really about the due process issues. And he said time and again in court, he said if the legislature wants to change this, they can change it. If it's an emergency to that degree, they need to get into the legislature and change the law to allow for masks to be mandated, to allow for kids to be excluded without any due process rights. But that's not happened. And since that hasn't happened, DeVore says we can't have a 550-day emergency. So those are some of the overarching arguments here in this case. And we'll hear some more from yesterday's court hearing in Sangamon County with Judge Raylene Grishow. So stay tuned for that. But first, a call. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Morning, Bishop. Two things. I'm going to be out of the vehicle for Hero of the Week, and that young lady has my vote.
All right, so yeah, you're going to vote for the young Naperville student, Addison George. I will jot that down.
Yep. And so yesterday was Spirit Week at my nephew's school, where we took custody of him and raising him, and he's over at Springfield, and they had Spirit Week, and my wife sent me a picture of him and his buddy in their spirit clothes, and I thought to myself, and he's 15, so I said in 10 to 15, preferably 15 years, when he has his kid, and he shows them these pictures, him and his buddy had their mask on because they're in school, and I thought to myself, the grandson or granddaughter or kid's going to go, well, who is this? Who's your buddy here? I can't tell who he is. What does he look like? I've seen so many pictures with mask on. That's part of the picture, is to see that smile, to see, we are going to have some very, very messed up kids in the next 10 years. Mark my words.
Well,
very messed up.
And listen, I mean, some states aren't doing this. Some states, most states aren't doing this. Most states do not force kids in school to wear masks.
Well, around here we are, and I see the effects of it every day, literally every day.
And I think that highlights, and I appreciate the call, I think that highlights some of what Addison George had to say. And in particular, we'll just re-air this particular issue because it's pretty poignant and to the point.
Thank you for teaching students that our own mental health is much less important than making triple vaccinated adults feel safe.
More from yesterday's discussions in court. Here's the Sangamon County Judge, Raylene Grishow, talking with some of the attorneys that were standing up, arguing in favor of mask mandates, in particular, Jennifer Smith. And then we'll hear from attorney Thomas DeVore, a little highlight from yesterday's conversation I had with him about what the next steps are in all of this. So more on the back and forth over the mask mandates in schools and what exactly is the trajectory here. You're hearing it on WMAY.
If you have this independent authority to have the students wear masks, then why haven't you done it in the past with regard to the flu? This is just, I'm not saying specifically, I'm just giving a hypothetical. If you have that authority to do that and you're saying, we don't have to look at, the bar, then why not require students who have them to wear masks in the past because they have the flu? It's passed similarly, my understanding, of how COVID is. And I don't think there's a right answer. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
It's very important to all of our clients that we walk out of this court today or whenever you make your ruling still with the authority whatever happens to the state, because we need that to operate schools.
Again, I thank everyone for their time and effort. I'm going to take it under advisement, and I will email my order out when I am completed with it, but it will not be before next Friday because I'm just looking at my calendar. I'm just being honest with everyone, okay?
But should the court grant the restraining order, there will be an appeal, asking the appellate court to review it. And if she doesn't grant it, we will ask the appellate court to appeal. I mean, ultimately, these questions need to be asked at the highest level of our court system, and that's what we're all going to do.
Again, that's Attorney Thomas DeVore talking with us yesterday. Before yesterday's hearing, we weren't sure when there would be a ruling made, and the ruling would be on a temporary restraining order, ultimately saying that these school districts, these 145 school districts, would have to stop requiring masks. Now, some of the response has been, and you heard this earlier with one of the attorneys arguing for the judge to not issue a temporary restraining order, arguing that they're going to they have to have this in place in order to keep schools open. There are some school districts that have been mask optional this whole time, and they've been operating. There are non-public schools that have had mask optional this whole time, and they've been operating. So interesting to see how this plays out, and obviously we're not going to have any clarity on this, even after Sangamon County judge rules on this. If it goes DeVore's way, the state likely will appeal. If it goes the state's way, DeVore likely will appeal. So this is going to go up to the next round of courts, and something I think that we'll continue to talk about, especially as you're seeing countries like the United Kingdom saying, no more mask mandates, and as Illinois is one of like 6 states in the country with 50 states requiring masks in schools, and it's got some frustrations seeming to continue to boil over when it comes to families wanting their kids to be able to see their friends' faces at schools, wanting to see their teachers' faces at schools, and the growing concerns of mental health issues and so on. It's a contentious issue, obviously, that now here we are 2 years in. Darn near 2 years in, we still don't have certainty. And I think one of the big questions is, what is due process? Why is due process so important? Should we better learn and understand what due process is? And the governor yesterday, he reacted to some of this, saying again that Tom DeVore is grifting and he wants to make schools less safe. And a variety of other criticisms that the governor laid out. And he says they're going to do everything they can to fight against these challenges and to ensure that schools are safe. And the way to do that, he said, was to make masks mandatory. But if you go back to what some of Addison had to say, I do want to air some of this. This, again, is Addison. She is a student from Naperville. Addison George, laying out some of her concerns and criticisms of the ongoing mask mandates in place in Naperville schools. And Naperville is one of the districts that's being sued by the 700-plus parents.
We get to wear masks all day, every day now. Isn't that great? Thank you for forcing me to wear a mask so I no longer have to brush my teeth or wash my face. Seriously, my life is so much easier. I don't wear glasses, but if I did, I would thank you for concealing my eyes with the fog from my breath, too. Thank you for teaching students that our own mental health is much less important than making triple vaccinated adults feel safe. Thank you for teaching me that even the most minute risk is not worth taking. Life is best when you take the path of least resistance, with no chance of failure and definitely no chance of catching a cold. Thank you for not reaching out to the students to ask how we feel about masks, because if you did, the majority of students would say that they hate masks, and then you might second guess your decision to make us wear them. Thank you for allowing me to experience the anxiety associated with never seeing facial expressions. Thank you for teaching us that we should never question authority or think critically, but instead we should follow whatever the people in charge tell us to do. Obedience is best. I realize now that thinking for yourself is overrated and not really necessary when you can just make decisions based on fear.
And she goes on from there, and just pretty incredible statements made. And the rhetorical device that she used, thanking these school officials with a slew of graciousness, I guess. So rather fascinating. Again, it's not going to be the last time we talk about this. There's going to be more movement in these cases and others as more school districts say we're doing masks optional. Writing's on the wall, apparently. But your tax dollars being used in these various districts to double down on masks, and the governor's office also seeming to double down on the mask mandate. All right, 7:53 now.